In this video, we're going to look at a few interesting things with SAP Companion. I've got a simple S4 system here that I'm going to look at to demonstrate these things. So first of all, I get asked quite often by people who have SAP Companion installed, but their content isn't being displayed, or they can't do certain things, or they don't think it looks right. I ask them what parameters it's been set up with, and they don't know. They don't have access to the Fiori admin console. They have to contact Basis, which takes forever to get them to tell them what parameters are being used. So I'm going to show you an easy way to find out the parameters yourself, and we'll look at a couple of key ones in that. So I have a simple S4 system here. It's actually the SAP demo client. It's not my system. I have no access to the Fiori admin console for this, or the ability to do any changes to this system. It's just a system I have read access to. So let's look at what we can do here. Because this is the demo system, it has SAP Enable Now already there. If I click the question mark, I see the standard SAP help using the standard configuration. So if I want to see what parameters are being used here, say this is my system and I can't see my help content, I can't get into edit mode or anything else, I want to see what's going on there, I'm going to display the parameters. So I'm going to do this in Chrome. You can basically do the same thing in Edge. It's more or less the same. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the developer tools. So in here, I'm going to go to developer tools. F12 on your keyboard will also do this for you. And I'm going to make sure I'm displaying the console here. So down at the bottom where I've got my cursor, I'm going to type a specific command. You have to type this exactly as I'm going to do here with the same capitalization. So capital H ELP4, help4, dot get, lowercase, shell with a capital S, SHELL, open brackets, close brackets, period, underscore PARAMS. Okay, that exact command, help4.get shell brackets, period, underscore, params. Press enter, and that will go and fetch all of the parameters for me. Now they're hidden behind this expandable area. So click this little right pointing arrow, and now you will see all of the parameters that are being used by SAP Enable Now. There's a lot of them all the way down here. There's a whole bunch of other things like functions that are being loaded as well. This is really being pulled from the SAP Companion framework. But if I look in here, there's a bunch of key parameters that I can pay attention to. The key one for me is service layer version. If I go and find that, this is currently set to EXT, which means I'm in extended mode, which means that it's going to show custom content if it exists, and the standard content where I don't have custom content. If you don't know what any of these parameters mean, if you go to the SAP Enable Now wiki, which you can get to from enablenow.wiki, and go to the SAP Companion Parameters section of this, this lists all of the parameters that you can set and change yourself. If I go down here and look at service layer version, I can see that this is where I have EXT. The other options are SEN and UACP. SEN is only custom content. UACP is only standard content. EXT is a mix of both. So all of those parameters are in here. So if you don't know what they are, that's where to find them. So that's a very useful command, that help for get shell parameters. A couple of others I'll point out in here. Key ones are these data URL ones. These are saying where to get the standard content from and where to get the custom content from if you're in EXT or SEN mode. And this one here is a critical one in here. Data URL WPB2. That's used in extended mode, and it says where to get the content from. And that is what you would expect to be pointing to your SAP Enable Now instance to pull in your content. And I can see at the moment that this is basically pulling in standard SAP content. The data URL WPB, without the 2 on it, that's pulling in standard content as well. So far so good. I can do a bit of basic troubleshooting here and see what parameters are being used without having to go to Basis and get them to go into the admin console and pull that information for me. Now, on to some more useful things. I can change any of these parameters dynamically just to see how it's going to affect things. Okay, again, this is not my SAP system. I'm just making some changes to Enable Now that's layered on top of it. I'm also not yet looking at my own Enable Now system. This is all 100% SAP demo. So say in here, I want to use a different theme. And if I go back to here and look at my parameters here, I can go and see that there are various themes that I can use. It lists them here and says roughly what they are. But I'm going to say that I want to use the success factors theme, SFSF, just to see what that looks like. And it's a little bit different, and you'll see how different it looks. So I'm going to close this developer console for now because we don't need it. We'll come back to it later. So this is standard SAP content, and you can see that this is using a dark blue background, light blue highlights, and the success factors theme looks different to this. I specifically chose that one so that we can see the effect it has. If I go back up here to my URL, before the hashtag, before that hash, I can enter any parameters for SAP Enable Now. And I do that by inserting a question mark to introduce a parameter list. And then I'm going to say that I want to use a theme. I have to prefix parameters in the URL with help dash, H-E-L-P dash, theme equals SFSF. Okay, I'm just going to put that in as a parameter. That's my parameter there, help dash, theme equals SFSF. And now I press enter to refresh the screen using that. And now when I pull up my help, you can see that the theme is markedly different to what we were seeing before. It's wider for one thing, and it's a light blue instead of a dark blue. So I know that this is absolutely working. And if I go back to my developer console and I run that same command down here and go and find that theme setting, I can see that theme is now set to SFSF. This is not affecting the application. It's only me in my browser that sees this, but I can make changes and I can see the effect that they have. Now, the other thing is that I want it to show my custom content. I've got an Enable Now system of my own. I've created some help for that, but it's not being displayed here. What's it going to look like if I pull in my help? Again, if I go down to look at the data URL WPB2, which is the one where it says where to get the custom content from, it's pushing it to SAP's standard content. So I'm going to change that parameter, data URL WPB2. Now, I already have this on my clipboard, so I'm going to paste it in here just to speed things up. But I'm going to add another parameter in here, and I'm going to use an ampersand in front of it, say this is additional parameter. I'm just going to paste my parameter in there. And what this is doing, I've got the help dash, which I need, and then I'm saying data URL SEN2, which is the new version of data URL WPB2. And then I've got the URL of my specific SAP Enable Now instance. So you as a customer, this is where you would put your one in. Okay. Now it has been put in JSON encoded format. So I've got, this is actually : //. That's the codes for it. There are JSON conversion things on the internet you can find if you need to do that. But that saves trying to put slashes and dots and things and confusing the URL or the browser. So I'm going to put that in there. So this now says I want you to get the custom help from my Enable Now instance. Now this is not going to work, first of all, because I want to show you something else that's important here that a lot of people forget. But if I press enter here, I would expect to see my custom content, and I've got a couple of tiles in there. So I should see those additional tiles pop up. But I'm not seeing my custom content in here. And if I go and look at the parameters again, just to confirm that it is picking things up, and I go down to data URL SEN2, it has got my one in here, so I know it's set there, so why is it not showing this? The reason is, and I want to specifically emphasize this, is that my custom content has not been published yet. And I'm not going to see unpublished content unless I'm in edit mode. And I think this has changed recently because I certainly don't remember it being this way a couple of releases ago. But for now, if I want to see my custom content, I need to be in edit mode. And the way I do that is a parameter of help editor equals true. So I'll do that, press enter to refresh the screen again. And now I see my custom content. I know this is absolutely stuff that I built out. give people an easy way to jump to a specific app from here. So it's now pulling in my custom content. If I'd published it, I would not have had to put that help editor equals true on there. But again, draft content, unpublished content, if you want to see it, you need to be in edit mode. So don't forget that. So far, so good. So this is not my S4 system. I have no ability to get into it, customize it, change the enable now parameters or whatever else. But it has got enable now turned on. I can create my own content here. Only I am going to see this, or anyone that I give this URL to that also has access to my SAP Enable Now system. But I can try these parameters out. I can try creating help content. I can try doing a bunch of stuff even before my SAP S4 system has been set up and connected to Enable Now. So this is a great way of trying things out and seeing how they'll look. So next thing we'll look at, I'll close this down so we've got a bit more space for our screen. The next thing I'm going to look at is other changes. There's a lot of things we can do to customize and configure SAP Companion, and a lot of color choices and things like that you can make. But you don't always know what they're going to look like, and you don't want to go to Basis and say, hey, can you change this particular parameter to this color? And then you see what that looks like, say, well, that's not quite right. Let me change this one. And Basis will soon get very tired of you going to them saying, hey, can you change this parameter? Can you change that parameter over and over again by trial and error until you get something you like? So fortunately, there is something else we can use. I'm going to go to my producer, and underneath adaptable resources, I'm going to find a resource called SAP Companion. Okay, and I'm going to start editing this. This was really set up for SAP Companion for desktop to customize how that looks, but SAP Companion for desktop and SAP Companion for Fiori basically work the same way now, and they have the same parameters. So I'm going to edit this. It's a resource, which means I need to start editing first. And once I go into it, what I then have is basically a way to set up whatever SAP Companion parameters I want and see what they look like here. So I'm going to say, for example, that I want to be using the SuccessFactors theme. And if I update that preview, you can see that's what it looks like now. But I'm going to customize some other colors in here because I want things customized to match my corporate theme, for example. So let me go into here and say I want to change this light blue on these bubbles. I'll just change one thing to make it easy to see. So I will change this. I customized colors, selected this, and I'm going to set this to my nice gold color and update the preview. Say I like the look of that. The preview shows me exactly what that's going to look like. And I say, yep, that looks great. Here, this bar here, this is the SAP Companion for Desktop bar, which is what this was really intended for. But the great thing here is that it gives me those parameters in a nice parameter list. So I can absolutely take this here, just click this copy URL parameters button. And now I'm going to go back to my S4 system, and I'm going to paste those parameters straight into my URL. I already had the theme in here, so I'm going to overwrite that one. I'm just going to take that one out again, and I'm going to paste in what I just copied. Okay, I don't need that leading ampersand because I've got the question mark there. It won't break anything, but to keep it clean, I'll do that. So now that I've just pasted in that new stuff that I just copied from that SAP Companion resource in Producer, and now I'm just going to hit enter to refresh the screen. And I can see already it's taken effect. So now I have my nice new gold colors in there. And I can do this, I can keep flipping back to here, changing whatever parameters I want in here, where I've got a nice easy explanation of them, and I can change a whole bunch of things in here, get it looking just like I want before I go to Basis and say, hey, can you update SAP Enable Now settings in Fiori to be this? And what you would give them is exactly this in this top one here, where it's got copy parameters. It's basically exactly the same thing, but without the ampersand help minus on the front of all of the parameters. So you just copy this, paste it into an email, and say to your Basis people, or whoever your Fiori admin person is, hey, this is what I want you to set up as the parameters. And they feed them in, and that's it, and you're done. So this is a very, very nice way of setting things up the way you want them to do. And you can do a lot of trial and error in here. Try different color combinations and see what's going to work for you before you actually go and tell them to customize the system for you. And that is that. Hope you found that useful. Again, that command, help4.getShell brackets period underscore params to display the parameters, and using that resource in producer of SAP Companion to set up the parameters the way you want and to try things out before you go to your Fiori admin and get it set up in the actual application. Very, very helpful. Hope you found that useful. If you did, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.